Hey there, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to show you how you can make a Terraform pipeline. So this is pretty much the simplest type of pipeline that there is. It's to deploy Terraform infrastructure as code. Your company might be using Terraform, but they should definitely have a pipeline if they are. If they haven't, this is something you can do. What you're looking at right now is I've made a pipeline on GitHub Actions. So this is quite common. Wherever you have source code, you can store a repo. It will also have CI/CD pipelines. This is where I've done it. You can see it right now ahead of you. Here are two jobs that I've made. One is called plan, one is called apply. Now I'm going to show you the source code for this. We're going to walk through it. And by the way, if you use GitHub Actions on a private repo, you get 2,000 free hours, which is pretty cool. Now this is the code that we're working with. The git ignore, the readme, forget about it. They're just default or blank. The only two files we're concerned with are terraform.tf, which is our infrastructure as code, and .github/workflows, the standard directory for this YAML file, terraform.yaml, I've decided to call it. This is where you put your workflows, basically your pipeline YAML. Let's take a look first at the terraform.tf. So this is super simple. So what I've got here first up top is an AWS provider. And the reason for that is we're going to use a bucket for our remote backend, the location for our state file, that's on AWS. So you can also see here I've defined a backend as well. This bucket I've already created earlier. And then we have here a few null resources. Null resources are kind of test resource. So these resources don't exist in AWS. They just don't exist anywhere. They're just kind of fake resources for the purposes of testing, which is perfect for our requirements. I just want to mention something else as well. I mean, a remote backend is always a good idea generally, but you do need it for pipelines because a pipeline is like a fresh environment, a fresh Linux environment, and it does not persist state. So you must have a remote backend. You cannot use a local backend. So that's terraform.tf. Let's go open up terraform.yaml and look at the pipeline. So this is pretty standard that pipelines are defined in YAML. You'll see this everywhere, and what we're saying here at first is it's going to apply when we're doing a pull request for the main branch and also when we push to the main branch. Now I just want to say we cannot push directly to the main branch if you have done a branch protection. You don't do that here, but you got to do that separately on the GitHub website. That's pretty standard. Now in this next section here I've got some environment variables which are loaded from secrets that I've already stored on the GitHub website. And this is a kind of standard way in pipelines of authenticating various applications. Now as it happens, for AWS there's a few other ways that you can do it. So this is not the best, but it's also not the worst, but we've chosen here to authenticate the access key, the secret access key, to express these environment variables from stored secrets on GitHub. We also put in here an environment variable for the region. Now down here we've got the two jobs, we've got the plan and the apply. Let's start with the plan. So I've got an if statement here that says if it's a pull request and it's being opened, but I also got another one here, or synchronize. What synchronize means is if you open the pull request and you forget some commits, you do further commits. That's what that means. So basically this is for a pull request, and this is the plan, and it's going to run on an Ubuntu run on the latest version. So let's open up the steps and take a look. Let me scroll down, get a better view. So first thing we're going to do is get the code. That's what checkout is. We're going to install Terraform. There's a few different ways of doing this. This is the way I've chosen to do it. It's just to get the Terraform binary. It's 300 megs, so it's a little bit too big really. There's probably better ways to do it. We're going to run a format. We'll continue if there's any errors because formatting is not that big a deal if it's not perfectly formatted. We're going to then do an init. You see here that there is here a parameter, the backend config, to specify the bucket. The bucket's a secret because really your bucket location, you don't want that to appear in your pipeline. You don't really want that to appear in your code either. We're going to run a validate, and we're going to run a plan. You see here that there's no color flag on both of these. This is pretty standard on commands in a pipeline. The reason is that if you have colors as output of your commands, sometimes you get ANSI codes and it kind of makes things not very readable. So it's best to use no color. We're going to store this as a plan, and the reason is that when we do the apply, I should say, we're going to apply the plan that was done earlier, standard practice. And we're going to store the plan in actually the same bucket where we're storing the state. Now there's a number of ways to store the plan. And by the way, the reason for storing the plan is because when we get down to this TF apply job, that is a separate independent environment. So we have to store the plan earlier, and then we have to get it back. We have to retrieve it back. I've chosen to use S3. There are other ways. Some have disadvantages, some have advantages. There are tools like Atlantis and stuff like that. That's beyond what we're going to talk about today. I just want to let you know that I'm going to use S3. So those were the steps on the TF plan. Let's look at the steps under TF apply. First of all, we've got an if statement, and this says if you're pushing to main, just as we said earlier. Then we're going to do the apply, and again, it's going to run on an Ubuntu runner. Let's open up the steps. A lot of this is kind of similar. I said it was an independent environment, so we have to grab the code again. We have to reinstall Terraform. We have to do an init again. This time what's different is we're going to get the plan from S3 bucket, and then we're going to do the apply. This is all pretty standard. Auto approve is a flag in Terraform, which means you don't have to type in YES, yes, it'll just automatically approve it. We're going to use that plan. So yeah, in summary, this is the plan and the apply jobs that we have, and they're going to apply on a pull request and a push. So that's enough of this. Now let's go make a change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new branch. This is pretty standard practice. So I'm going to call this we're going to call this resource. I'm going to call this third resource removal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, this is pretty standard, and publish the branch. I'm going to go back to our code here, and I'm going to open up Terraform, and there is the third resource that we're going to remove. I've highlighted it, so let me just delete that. We're going to save this and close it, and we're going to go back to here, and we are going to stage the change. We already know what it is, and I'm going to put a message in here saying this is a feature and it's third resource removal. I'm going to commit that, and we're going to push it to the origin branch. It's just saying, are you sure that you want to push and pull commits from and to origin third resource removal? Yes, we do. There we go. And now let's head over to GitHub. So here we are now on the main repo page, and pretty standard now for the repo to tell you, the vendor software to tell you, oh look, you had a recent push, so probably you want to do a pull request. So I'm going to click on this button here, compare and pull request. And pretty standard stuff. You can see here it's got a summary that we want to take our branch third resource removal and we want to merge it to main, and what it's done is it's taken the commit message and put it up here, and I'm just going to add a message as if this is real life, and I'm going to say this was requested by the QA team. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and click on this green create pull request, and what you can now see is that has actually activated the pipeline for the job TF plan. It says in progress. And now you can see it says all checks have passed, and if you look down here that the TF plan was successful in 16 seconds and that the apply was skipped. So that's good because we didn't want the apply to happen yet. So now imagine that you sent the URL to this pull request to a coworker of yours, and it's now for them to review. This is good practice, peer review. So the first thing that they would do is they would look at it and they would see your comment. This is requested by the QA team, and then they would go to here, files change. So I'm going to click on that. And now what they see is they see the diff in the code change that you're making, and all the red lines means a deletion, and they can see that you have deleted resource called example3. So let's go back. So what they've seen is that they've seen your comment, they've seen the diff, so far looks good, they've seen all checks have passed, well that's good, but what they really need to see is they want to see the plan. So let's go, I'm going to click on details here. And this gives us basically the logged output to stand it out of the Linux runner that was doing all the steps in this job TF plan. So I'm not going to bore you by going through all of these. There's nothing particularly interesting, but the main one we want to look at is TF plan. So let's have a look. You can see the plan command was run. It says Terraform will perform the following actions. Resource example 3 will be destroyed. 0 to add, 0 to change, 1 to destroy. So this looks good. So I've come back to this page. Everything looks good to me, so I'm now going to click on this button, merge pull request. And by the way, if I wanted to, I could actually add a comment down here, but I really don't think that's necessary in this case. So I click that button, and it just gives you an automatic merge commit message for the merge pull request. I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm going to click on confirm merge. And it says here, pull request successfully merged and closed. You can delete the branch. This is just a handy way. We don't need this branch anymore, so it's going to offer it to be deleted. So I'm going to click on delete branch. And you can see here that the branch was deleted, so that's great. Now we're hoping that now that that's merged, that it should actually be being applied to Terraform code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click up here. You see at the top where it says Actions. I'm going to click on that. And this shows us in reverse chronological order all of the workflow runs, most recent at the top. So you can see the last two that have happened was the pull request, that there was a workflow executed, and also when it was merged, and it's already showing green, so it already within a few seconds was complete. So I'm going to click on this, and yeah, as expected, the plan was skipped because we already had a plan. We didn't need that, but the apply has got a big green check mark, and let's just have a look at it. We don't really need to, but let's just have a look at it. So this is similar to before. Let's not get bored and look at all the steps we don't need to. Let's go straight to the TF apply and have a look. And we can see here, apply complete, 1 destroyed, and you can see up there that it was resource example 3, exactly as we wanted. So that was end-to-end example of a Terraform pipeline. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. We've got 126 subscribers and I've done over 74 videos so far. Really enjoying it. Really loving you being here as well. Please leave a comment as well. Any comments or any questions, would love to hear from you. That's it from me. See you around soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.